Are the Little Mermaid's dresses historically accurate? And if so, from what era? The answer for the original 1989 version is yes, and the 1980s. I recommend checking out Modern Girls videos on Ariel's dresses. She goes into a deep dive on just how 1980s all her dresses are, and especially her wedding dress seems to be heavily inspired by Princess Diana. Although the world in the 1989 film seems to take place in some Mediterranean kingdom in the past, the clothes are very 1980s inspired. Her wardrobe is all over the place time period wise. I'd also like to say that her dresses also have some older inspirations mixed into them. And judging by the glimpses I've seen of the new Little Mermaid film coming out soon, although it does not seem completely 100% thoroughly historically accurate, which what can, it does seem to take a lot of inspiration from the Romantic era, especially the late 1830s, when those big mutton sleeves started moving on down the arm. I haven't seen the film yet, of course, but I am already so excited for the costumes. They look stunning. So like this blue day dress that she wears in the trailer, it's so freaking pretty. It has all the gatherings at the front. It sort of reminds me of this dress in Cinderella, but with Ariel's own flair to it and an 1830s flair to it with the sleeves. And this purple dress for the character of Vanessa looks much more accurate to the period because it's floor length and it just looks stunning. I also really love this dress, which appears to maybe be a nod to the animated sequel dress that Ariel's daughter Melody wears as a baby. With the new film not having come out yet, I'll be focusing on the original outfits with both the 1980s and the 1830s in mind. So the first thing that Ariel wears that isn't her seashell bra or the ship's sails and ropes is the pink dress. So this pink dress is heavily 1980s inspired. It's got those puff sleeves. It also does look very 1830s and more like early to mid 1830s when the mutton sleeves are still very much at the top of the arm, at the shoulders, and they're huge. And her neckline seems to be lowered and almost off the shoulder, which was also very popular for that time. So the newer adaptation seems to be more 1830s inspired, but the late 1830s, since the sleeves have moved down the arm. I really would like to make my own interpretation of that. I am going to go for the late 1830s look like in this new movie that's coming out because it's one of my favorite dress eras. And I just would like to see like the animated Ariel in something like that. Like in the animated film, the dresses are kind of all over the place. They've got lots of inspirations from past princesses and like other past periods all smushed together along with the 1980s. So in the animated version, it seems to be that she has almost a like medieval / like Renaissance look to her sleeves with the slashes. That wouldn't be the most historically accurate, but the Victorians were also really known for being very much into the medieval era and incorporating some of that into their own like modern for the time attire. And so who's to say that maybe Ariel's sleeves didn't have some slashes? Maybe she was part of the pre-Raphaelite movement. I don't know. But I think that really was coming a little bit later. So I moved the sleeves down a bit. The only other thing is that she seems to have some sort of draping that is very reminiscent of 18th century like Panier's robe à la Française dress when they have the draping over their skirts. So I just made that simple like one skirt. I thought I would add some gatherings at the front because that was really popular for the time, and it's also in the new Little Mermaid's dress and I really love that. If I could redraw the animated movie, I would definitely make Ariel's dress look like this. Dress number 2. So this dress is the blue dress that she's out on the town with Prince Eric in, and it's super cute. You can see inspiration from Sleeping Beauty in this dress with this little like corselet thing, but it is not very reminiscent of the 1830s at all. She's got her hair down for one. That was something I didn't mention in the pink dress, but she would have her hair up. They had bows and decorations and flowers in their hair, but they wouldn't have had this like 1890s / Edwardian girls like big bow on the back of their head. I'm just gonna put her hair in a nice updo with some flowers. There is historical evidence for these little like corselet things over the dress, not the actual corset, like more for decoration over the dress, but they are not seen in 1830s dresses. They didn't really have those. It's more like 1850s, 1860s. Even though it's really cute, I'm gonna get rid of that. From what it looks like in the animated version, it's like she has a shift underneath and then a separate skirt. She wouldn't just be wearing her shift underneath in the 1830s, so she's gonna have an actual bodice, maybe like made out of some sort of silk taffeta or cotton, again with the gigot sleeves at the bottom of the arm. So she probably wouldn't be walking around during the day with like the complete like off the shoulder sloping look. That's more for an evening dress type of look. So I gave her a little bit something more higher V-shaped that was seen for day bodices during the era. And so she would probably look a little something like this. But of course she needs a little cap and bonnet with all the frills and laces because everyone had their heads covered during this era. So this dress is pretty much the exact same thing from the new Little Mermaid trailer. And all I can say is it's because they did a kick-ass job costuming. This dress looks so freaking pretty. I love it. It does look like it has some sort of corselet over it, but they made it to match the bodice color so it kind of blends in and still fits in with that late 1830s silhouette. There was a time when I was contemplating that maybe the animated version was set somewhere in the 1890s, and it still could be. A lot of those silhouettes still ring true to that time period silhouette as well, with the mutton sleeves. So I drew this a while ago. I really love the idea that it's set somewhere in the late 1830s. I really love that silhouette. So this pretty much like blue version of Princess Aurora's dress, even though it's really cute, would not be historically accurate. Another dress is Ariel's dress that she comes out of the sea with, and I am really excited to see what that looks like in this new version that's coming out because I just feel like they're gonna make it look really pretty. But this one that she wears in the animated version is not historically accurate at all to maybe anything like other than the 1980s. Like as far as trying to place it in the 1830s goes, there were no dresses that looked like that. Very much 1980s, 1990s with the cowl neckline, and it's just slinky. There are dresses that look similar to that in the 1930s. So again, the animated film is such a conglomeration of all these time periods. 1830s, you got 1930s, 1990s, 1890s, mersh of things to make this 1980s fantasy Disney film. If I were to make this historically accurate to the late 1830s, it would look nothing like how it does in the animated film, and that would be such a disservice. Like she comes out of the water in a shift, but then it wouldn't be as sparkly and pretty, and like it couldn't be like silk. I'm so excited to see what it looks like in the film. I've got my hopes up high. I think it's a lot of people's favorite dress. So the last dress that Ariel is seen in the film is her wedding dress. This is one of the things that I could see looks very similar to the 1890s with the mutton sleeves and the skirts and the waistline. I'd say like for the 1890s, the neckline would have to be higher because they always had like some sort of collar. Unless it was a ball gown, evening ball type of wedding, and so she got away with this very low neckline that's almost like an evening ball gown for the time period instead of the higher neckline, which would have been worn during the daytime. It is going to be a historically accurate 1890s look. So for the 1890s look, again, she's gonna have the higher collar because like if you look at like 1890s wedding dresses, you usually see the higher collar. They have those big mutton sleeves. There's something going on with the hips where the bodice seems to go out into these petal shapes, which is really pretty, but it's not historically accurate. I do think that maybe she could get away in the 1890s with having some sort of petal-like embroidery or beading on her skirt of her gown. And so this would be her 1890s version of her gown. Again, hair up. She probably had that whole Gibson girl look with the big hair. And this is probably maybe what she'd look like. She's got these like really cute little like points at the end of her sleeves. Okay, so that was my interpretation on how the original animated film could be historically accurate or what historical inspirations were in it. I am so excited for this new film. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see all the costumes. I can't wait to obsess over them and try to make them myself. I honestly have not liked many of Disney's adaptations. I liked Cinderella. Cinderella's dresses were just top tier, they were beautiful. So Cinderella did a really amazing job on its costumes. Although there wasn't any real historical accuracy, which is fine because it's a fairy tale, these are fairy tales and fantasies, it still did a really great job at telling the story through costuming and just making gorgeous costumes. And I'm really excited for the Little Mermaid because it seems that the costumes are really pretty as well. So I feel very passionately about this, like they have to get the costumes right. So that was it. Comment down below what era you think Ariel's dresses in the original film are from. What era? Yeah, I said that right? Yeah. Comment down below what era you think her dresses are from. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.